I have more.
Multiple screens. Good morning, mediums. Welcome to another episode of Live here on Keystroke Medium. It's season 2, episode 56. I am Josh Hayes here with my co-hosts, Scott Moon and Ralph Kern. And today, the author of the post-apocalyptic series After It Happened, Devon C Ford, joins the show. Devon has been writing and publishing since 2016. And today, he joins us to talk about his writing journey. Devon, welcome to the show.
Hi, Josh.
Hey, Devon, how are you?
Ralph, Scott, hi.
Thanks so much for taking some time out of your day to come out and hang out with us and chat with us. It's definitely a foursome of mayhem and shenanigans today, which we were talking just before we went live. We had a company meeting right before the broadcast to talk about our award show that we're going to hopefully be putting together this year. And when you get 3 people in a room talking about several ideas, we run up all the way to right before the show starts, and we're like, well, we didn't get anything. We had nothing done, and we're going to have to do a whole other meeting to talk about the stuff that we didn't get done in the first meeting.
So the 2 significant parts of that is one, I somehow got stuck with the technical duty, so I just put the link on our Facebook page. That's a recipe for disaster right there. Anything that involves 2 brain cells you got to rub together is
I'm
wrong.
impressed.
And I didn't get a chance to mess with Josh's intro because normally I would have put something very nice.
That's right.
So I'm sorry I just dropped the ball on that. I didn't have time to find a hat, so.
Oh, no hat swap today.
No hat swap.
I was wondering what that glaring light was.
I know.
From your,
it's like the sun.
Somebody's interrogating us. Tell us what you know.
Tell us what you know. Show your secrets.
Oh man. So, Devon, I can't know if you've ever picked up the show or not. But
yeah, a few.
You have 8 books now out on Amazon.
I've got 6. I've got 2 that are in the pipeline.
Gotcha. Okay, and they're all the same series, all post-apocalyptic.
Yeah. The first series After It Happened, it's a 6-book series. That's finished. The last one came out a month ago, and there's been some mixed feelings about the ending.
That's right. Well, it's always good to have people angry that your series is ending. Not that it ended badly, but that it ended.
That it ended. There's been some tears. There's been some throwing of Kindles.
Some gnashing of teeth and
nothing
wailing.
wrong with a bit of controversy, and so if it gets people talking and it gets people debating, then I'd suggest that shows that you've worked up an immense passion in your readers. That's no bad thing, really.
Yeah, there's people have basically said that they feel for the characters over 6 relatively short books. They've come to actually love these people who are figments in my imagination. And not to give anything away, but the way things end, the way things happen through the series, they really feel for who they're reading about.
I think that's so cool that people can get so. And I mean, I've been invested in characters, and I love to see people getting invested in my characters, and it's so neat to see. Like, I can't believe you killed Ned Stark. Spoiler alert! And so for our audience,
remember, we need to do the spoiler alert before we do the spoilers.
Spoiler alert first. I forget that every time.
We're talking a bit about, I suppose, the end of the series. But do you perhaps want to talk a little bit about the beginning and how it came about?
How it came about. A mixture of an overactive imagination, a fair bit of insomnia, and a weird dream that kind of got carried away with an idea. That idea ended up having to get down on paper somehow. What started off as a weird idea that ended up in bullet points started to take a bit of shape, and it started to take its own life on. And I don't even think I did it deliberately. It started coming out as a story.
And
okay,
so
that strikes me as quite a nice sort of top-down summary of many people's kind of writing process. And there is a school of thought that says, can you summarize your story into one single sentence, which I'd suggest would be your idea. What was the idea? What was the idea you started off with?
The idea simply happened of 90% of the people on the planet, if they overnight disappeared, died, weren't there anymore, and you were one of the lucky or unlucky ones, however you're going to look at it, the few percent left, what would you actually do? And it kind of went on as an extension of humanity, human nature today. A lot of people wouldn't be able to deal with life without fast food and having people do things for them. Just a simple, not that I'm a prepper or anything like that, but just a simple case of, would you be able to survive a winter? Would you be able to find water? Just basic survival stuff like that, but in the setting of an empty world.
Now, you originally said you started publishing in 2016. Was it this book that was the first one that you published?
Yes, Survival was the first one. Shameless plug coming up. Yeah, Survival was the first one.
We love props.
I've got 5 more. Yeah, that was the first one, and I'll be honest, I'm sure you've spoken to writers and you've probably experienced it yourself. Going back now and reading my first one, I cringe. When you look at the comparison between the end of book 6 and the start of book 1, it's like 2 different people. So if people can manage to get through the first book, they'll probably enjoy the rest.
Well, you have 536 reviews on Amazon on Survival right now. You have a 4.3 star average. So I would say that people are not having an issue getting through the first book at all.
We talk a lot. Go ahead, Josh.
I was going to say, a lot of times we'll ask what kind of got you into writing. If this is the first book that you've published, obviously you haven't been a writer your whole life. You've done other things. And so what kind of pushed you into this? I want to write this story that I had the idea about, but why becoming a writer? What generated that?
I think I wrote the first book by a random series, the sequence of events. And I owe a lot to a good friend of mine who will be my best man in just under 3 weeks.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Cheers, Ralph. He, out of politeness, said that he'd read the first book. And it was very much out of politeness. And he was thinking, yeah, how am I going to get away with going back in, doing a big fake smile and going, oh, yes, really nice.
So what did you think about the robots at the end? You've got to throw that random question.
Yeah. But he came back in. The ending of book 1 was originally very different, and I've included a fair bit more of book 2 into that because it ended on a very severe cliffhanger. And he came storming in, almost threw his bag at me. He said, I need book 2. I said, I haven't written book 2. And he said, write book 2. So yeah, and it kind of went to that, and I wrote the third one, and then I very badly broke my hand. I had to have an operation to have it put back together, and kind of like Terminator, just not in any way cool, just more arthritis than superhuman strength. I sat at home, I was bored, and it just struck me to that if the other people like it, that I should publish, and I did, and it literally went way beyond what I'd imagined it would have done.
So have you done any writing or any creative work at all before you started working on this book?
Not really, no.
So I'm curious then, you said you had a dream and you just had to write it down. Have you been a reader your whole life? Have you been a sci-fi reader your whole life? And is that kind of, okay, I have this idea, now I want to write, or what gave you that initial push to become a writer, except just without the idea?
I've always had a book, at least one book on the go for pretty much all my adult life. Bit of a geek with my sci-fi love. Good friend of mine runs Comic-Cons. He's organised with someone else the Coventry Comic-Con that I'll be at in October. Hi, John, Jeff. But yeah, fellow geek. Always been into my sci-fi, especially the post-apocalypse. Big divide with post-apoc and zombie apocalypse for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I love a bit of zombie. Can't really get past the science of it most of the time.
Right.
But yeah, the more
It's a bit
scary.
sketchy.
Reanimation without respiration, yeah, it's fundamentals, but it's good entertainment. It's great entertainment. But yeah, big divide in that. The one for me is that if a lot of people die with the post-apocalypse, you wouldn't need zombies because there'd be plenty of scary human beings around still.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that intrigues me about your books that I'm seeing is a lot of post-apocalyptic stuff that I've read or looked at has always been kind of like in eastern Colorado and they're going to the mountains, or Southern California. Yours are set in the UK. So was that different than writing or
very different, very difficult, because with any kind of story of post-apocalypse, you need action. Action usually means guns. Guns in the UK are either an air rifle or a double-barrel shotgun, which don't really make for great firefights. So I did have some creativity bringing in a bit more weaponry. But yeah, like you say, most post-apocalypse stuff is mostly set in the States. Access to firearms is obviously a completely different world.
Right. Oh yeah.
Most Brits just wouldn't even begin to understand. So finding something that's based in the UK, there are a few others, but it's predominantly US based.
Yeah. It just has that
which I
sort of
think
feel.
it might be a bit of a gap in the market. I mean, I'm saying this as a Brit, so shamelessly as well. But I'm one of those people who firmly believe that you should have a zombie plan, because there's only two kinds of people in the world: there's those with a zombie plan and food. It's interesting seeing this story in a different environment or a different take, because as you say, these stories are often set in Colorado or wherever. But yet, throw it into an environment where, hold on a second, you don't have guns, or you don't have necessarily the amount of resources, or perhaps the prepper mentality that seems to be a bit more common in the States, and you've got a whole different kind of problem, haven't you? And I know it's not a zombie story, you're saying it's more of a survival story,
Right.
but even so, you don't see many of that kind of thing over here.
No.
So, and that could well account for your storming success. Really, is that
I'm very intrigued with what that'd be like, because I like to read or watch anything like I love the Bourne Identity movies and stuff, because they go off, and whether it actually shows anything of Europe or the rest of the world in any type of accuracy, I have no idea, but it always intrigues me a lot because it's someplace new to go. It's almost like going to a magic world or something for me.
Well, wait until Ready Player One, because they filmed Ready Player One in our city. So
Nice. Well, it's kind of like Brian Staveley's The Emperor's Blades.
Yeah.
And even we had he was on the show right at the beginning of season 1, and he wrote a fantasy that was based in India. I'm losing a blank on his name. I'll have to look it up. But basically taking a specific genre and then tweaking it in such a way that it makes it unique, and not just kind of rehashing post-apocalyptic with everybody has guns and goes crazy. And I like that. I like that a lot. I think that's very ingenious for people to do, and needs to be done to kind of revitalize the genre.
Yeah, there was a term used by another writer, and she said the term post-apocalyptic bingo, where you can literally just fill your card. Went right, yeah, they've done that. They've met the Mad Max band. Someone's got a machete. There's a fight over resources, and you can just play post-apocalyptic roulette in different orders.
Who's the guy with the crossbow?
Yeah, which I haven't put in. But I didn't want to have that. The story evolved, it grew organically, and Oh, that sounded bad. It just happened, and it went on. It took its own path. It went over into Europe, kind of by itself. I mean, I know I wrote it, but it went there by itself. And just the way things flow. I didn't want to go for that bingo thing. So it's more about the people, the interactions, the way they develop together, as opposed to just going through the bingo card.
I like that you mentioned talking about the people and what they're going through. I wonder, maybe kind of talk about and speak to your main character and kind of how you developed him as a character and as a person, and kind of what his struggles are through the books.
Yeah, the main character, Dan, he's very much broken before it happened. He's probably the only one that, with the apocalypse, is actually happier afterwards. Because before he was fairly broken, he had a lot of skills and no purpose, and by having the purpose of, again, unintentionally getting people together, coming up with a plan, realizing that he becomes the default leader without actually wanting to be, and then as the story goes on, having to do things which morally sit uncomfortably with him. And other people wouldn't do, but it's the concept of doing the bad thing for the greater good, and the fact that in any kind of survival situation with humans, you would need somebody who's willing to do those things to keep everyone else safe. So the main character is very, very hot and cold. I'm sure if he took a breath and stopped for 5 minutes, he would have a screaming breakdown at some point, but he's just keep himself too busy to actually melt down.
Well, that's what makes the dilemma is what makes characters interesting. It's like they have this value and they have this need, and then they don't always intersect. You know, if everybody just went and made easy decisions in your fiction, it would be pretty, Leave It to Beaver, June Cleaver stuff, where they don't really have any challenges. But I think that's why people like The Walking Dead. It's not just the fact that there's brains splattering everywhere on the screen, but because they have to make a lot of hard choices. So I really like character dilemmas.
They're all crack shots.
They're all crack shots. And I like the fact that in the future, everybody can make running headshots from the back of a moving pickup truck and hit
one arm
yards away with one arm and a pistol. That's cool.
Wow.
I like to be able to do that.
Yeah.
There was I can't remember when there was a review written about it's great to see a main character that makes mistakes and misses a shot, because they're real people. Making a headshot of 15 feet in perfect conditions is going to be hard. Doing it from a moving vehicle is just Hollywood. So yeah, people are gonna miss shots. People are gonna make mistakes and barely get out of things alive. Things are going to go wrong.
Exactly. So what can you tell us a little bit about kind of what kicks off book one without too much of a spoiler? I mean, what's the first kind of cataclysmic event, or is that too much of a?
It starts
cataclysmic. I like that.
There you go.
Cataclysmic. Good word, you Scott.
Yay.
It starts literally. There's no build up. It starts with the main character on his own, unintroduced, breaking into a police station to get weapons because he knows it's going to go wrong. As far as he knows, he's not even seen anyone else alive yet. Priority is to defend yourself, get equipped, and he starts to have one of his many mini meltdowns, and then his sidekick basically finds him, who's also, you saw some of his backstory, which was quite sad with him losing his family. But he finds this main character, Neil finds Dan. And there's this very British, very tongue-in-cheek scene where they're both a bit embarrassed, but they don't really know how to broach the subject of, will you be my friend kind of thing. There's lots of silly little quips between them, and those quips carry on and develop over their whole friendship for the whole series.
That's cool. I like that.
It's nice to see the it's kind of instead of having a group of friends that know each other that struggle, a group of people that don't know each other, because then you kind of have to deal with trust issues and motivational issues in between the group while trying to battle all the external influences of what's going on around them.
Well, it's not just that. I suppose it's as your main character grows to, your main character has to get to know his colleagues, compadres, whatever you want to call it, as the reader does as well. So it's a nice technique for sort of letting that growth happen organically, both for the MC, for the main character, and for the readership as well. So
you avoid that maiden butler device from writers use. Like, as you know, Josh, back when we were first went to the Starbucks, we both decided to do a show.
Well,
Yes, I do remember that very well.
Thank you for reminding me.
I'd
kind of forgotten. Thank you.
It sounds like you've kind of suggested, anyway, Devon, that you kind of you're a self-taught writer or whatever. But is that the case, or did you put in quite a bit of research into what makes structurally a good story for introducing characters for that kind of thing? Because if it's the latter, I'll suggest you're a damn good natural storyteller.
Yeah.
Honestly,
so
no,
please say it's a fluke.
Yeah.
It's I'm sorry, Ralph, it's a fluke. The way these stories came out. I mean, with the stuff I'm writing now, I've written one more that we'll talk about later with two other authors in the States. That had a lot more structure to it, a lot more planning went into it. The After It Happened series, that again, the skills with the writing, with the introducing of characters and how to give a backstory without sitting people down and giving a PowerPoint, that kind of flowed. It kind of happened naturally. So sorry to disappoint you.
Damn. Thanks, man.
Damn it.
There's always that one guy that was like, "This is easy, guys. Come on. What are you guys complaining about? Just write your story."
There's a lot to be said for that, though, that we all know how to write stories, and we tell stories. That's how we communicate, whether you're a writer or not. You watch movies. If you come home from work and they say, "What happened today at work?" the first thing you do is tell a story. So I think sometimes we get in our own way, and maybe getting that crappy first draft out and then cleaning it up with the help of an editor or something, probably,
Which kind of will kind of lead into talking about process and mechanics and that type of stuff that we typically talk about at the back half of the show. So it kind of puts us as a great spot for a little separator and talk about our show sponsor today. The sponsor for today's episode is Rick Partlow, and as part of that sponsorship, he would like to give away 2 audiobook codes to his Duty Honor Planet audiobook. So like kind of what we do generally when we do audio book giveaways for the show is it's for the live audience. So if you're listening on the feed, shame on you. You need to come and hang out with us live. I'm going to put a post in the public group, Keystroke Medium group on Facebook about the Duty Honor Planet giveaway. Go to that thread and just post a comment there, and you will be entered in the giveaway. And then here in about 10 minutes or so, we'll pick a winner with the magic random number button. So the post is up. And Devon, it's interesting that you say it just kind of flew together when Ralph asked you about structure and process. But I'm really curious of how you kind of looked at it and thought, okay, I'm going to create this story. I'm going to sit down and write it. So did you have, are you a plotter now that you've been doing this 6 books in? Or are you still kind of just sit down and go with it and see where it takes you?
I've written 6, got another 2 on the go, written another 1. So for my 10th book, including a short story I've written, I've actually now started to plan. But no, it's been more of a case of have idea, write down a few bullet points of things that happened. I start to do that more towards the end when I'm trying to wrap up within a certain word count. I will put bullet points of things I have to put in. They will get bigger, smaller. I'll move them around. But what I tend to do, it's one I've shared quite a lot. I get halfway through a book and I write the ending. I wrote the end of book 3 as I was partway through the book 1. and I work towards the ending that I want, so it doesn't get too carried away, if you know what I mean.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, halfway through a book, I'll write the ending, and I'll work towards that within a set word count, vaguely. It's give me something to aim for. It's like the end of the tunnel, really. I don't know how you guys feel. When I get into writing something, I kind of disappear.
Right.
A house could be on fire around me if I want something, and it wouldn't let go. To the point where finishing this other untitled book I've written, finished that a couple of weeks ago. But in the last 5 days, I was doing 4,000 to 6,000 words a day.
Oh, nice.
I was literally head down, even to the point where I didn't realise my laptop battery had expired. As I'm writing, I'm still going, and I'm looking at a blank screen. I do get carried away. I get a bit almost obsessive about it. And then there are other days where I'll sit in front of the screen and nothing will come out for 2-3 days at a time. And it's just when it's not working, it's not working.
I don't. Looking up at a blank screen would terrify me. I think after sitting down for a ride, it's kind of like if we ever did the show and we're just sitting here talking and we've done an hour, and I look down and I haven't hit the broadcast button and we haven't been live the whole time.
The same feeling, yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, what just happened?
All right.
Okay, let's just do all that over again. Luckily, this time I did hit broadcast, so we are live. So how did you? I mean, you say you write 4,000 to 6,000 words a day. What's your process like? How do you go through that?
Again, I was sorry to disappoint. I don't have much of a process. I sit down and I work at it. I said there are days when it works, there are days when it doesn't. Usually, when it works, it literally comes flying out. But so for every good day's writing, I'll get 3 mediocre and 2 where just nothing happens. It's weird. It's not like I can go to work, do a set number of hours, fill in a word count. It's the first time I've ever had employment that is creative based. So I can't just spew it out on demand. It needs to be the right. The stars need to align.
I like that idea. Well, you said that you write about half the book or so, and then you write the ending. And so the two, I mean, do you think that's better than writing the ending and then starting from the beginning? Or do you think how did you come upon that method?
It came to it when I was stalling for, you kind of lose your way a bit, stalling for where it was going. And in my head, I skipped ahead, imagined where it was, wrote it down. And then that gave me the target to work towards. And it's something it's become habit. That it's part of the process. But I normally, with these books, I've started with everything apart from the first one. I started with a prologue, which is an action scene, a third, halfway through the book. So then you'll go back, work up towards the biggest scene that you've already had a sneak peek of. Right. And by the time I've got to that, I've already written the ending, which I'm working towards.
It seems like the middle is a sticky part for a lot of people, and that's kind of why I was really curious about that.
The old 30,000 word barrier.
Yeah.
Yeah, where suddenly you hit 30,000 words and lose all motivation. It's like,
yeah.
That's a good technique. That might be a good takeaway for all of our
yeah. So it's always nice to take away something from these shows, isn't it? And I think every show we manage to sort of grab something and shamelessly use it somehow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm stealing that. I'm using that every day now. Because what I've generally done is I just go back and start repolishing from page 1, and that is not the right way to do it, because that'll wear you out, and you'll have a really nice first chapter and never finish.
Yeah, I've tried that method, and I've ended up probably re-editing a half of a book 20 times.
Right.
When I could have actually written another 2 books in the meantime with the amount of hours I've put.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. So do you sit down and type out that first draft? How long does it usually take you?
It depends on the excitement level. It depends on the pressure I put on myself. If I tell myself I've got a year to write a book, I'll wait till about 11 months to start the book. I mentioned earlier I'm working with 2 other authors on a multi-author series. It's Jacqueline Druger and P.A. Glaspie, both US-based female writers in the post-apoc world. Fantastic. Jackie especially is absolute workaholic. and her book rate is phenomenal. So I'm with a big time difference, because they're both in 2 different time zones. With a big time difference, we're discussing ideas, linking up through group chat, and because I had that idea of where it went, initially where it was going to go, and then I hit the 30,000 word mark, and it just went absolutely huge. It ended up on 4 different continents, and it just went very much like the Arisen series, where there's something going on all over the world at the same time. But that one, because I had the excitement level up and I had input from other people, that took me a month, and that's just shy of 70,000 words. And wow. So that was 3.5 weeks because of the excitement level.
And just sitting in front of the keyboard typing, do you dictate, or you just type out the words as they come to you?
No, it's brain to fingers. I'm not quite good enough to look at the screen at the same time, but I'm definitely better than using 2 fingers now. But it just straight out, just pour it out, and then go back over it.
So I'm wondering now, with your 6-book series complete and moving on to the next, and keeping track of, like you said, all these big elements that are happening. Do you, instead of just kind of strictly pantsing your writing now, do you do a lot more planning, or maybe not even planning, but note taking to make sure everything is...
I do now, because my series comes out on Audible, starts from October. I'm with Podium Publishing, and they've got excuse me, R.C. Bray is reading my stories, which I'm very excited about.
That's awesome.
Oh, excellent. It's The Martian, isn't he?
Yes, he's The Martian, Arisen, the X4 books that I'm listening to at the moment are fantastic. He's literally made Skippy.
Oh, hold on, Devon. You started saying you listen to audiobooks, and now we've got to listen to about 15 minutes of Josh banging on about how good audiobooks are.
Okay, Josh, we're going to have to come back to you on that.
Where's Scott gone? Is he just...
He dropped out. Who knows?
He's had a major malfunction.
Yeah.
Well, where did we start?
Oh, we were talking about planning your books out.
Yes, but now, because I've had to go back over the whole series in fine depth and come up with a character list for the purpose of having a narrator go through it. Now, as I work, I keep detailed character lists and a planning excuse me, and a planning document at the same time. Star off little bits I've got to go and research. Sometimes that can be YouTube. Other times that can be find someone who was there or for something similar and go and buy them coffee or beer, usually beer.
Yes.
Or with the After It Happened series, it was jump in the car, drive 3,000 miles to the south of France and back to get some pictures. That was a really good week.
There's a great time of trip. You could write that off. It's like that was
tax deductible.
Yeah, it's necessary expenditure, should we say?
Yeah.
I think that probably in a post-apocalyptic scenario that the currency, always changes, and I think it should be probably beer. That's what you barter with.
So you've got to study like
in the future.
Which beer
is it like the Fallout computer games where the currency is bottle caps?
Bottle caps.
beer bottle caps.
I'll take a bottle cap, and can you leave it attached to a bottle?
Just having a look at the questions. I think the main question we got from the readers or from the watchers was pretty much covered by Patty Glassby about have you got any more series on the go?
I've got a few more than that as well. I've got one that's halfway through and completely stalled, and I've written 3 things in the meantime. This is again a UK based. It's futuristic dystopian. There's elements of sort of Man in the High Castle, but without the Second World War reference. It's futuristic dystopian in the UK, generations after quite a bad civil war, closed borders. It's kind of a Blades versus Bullets thing. That's on the go. That's at the start of the series. So I've kind of lost my way on that one. I need to revisit that probably after the honeymoon. I've also
just do it on the honeymoon. She won't mind.
at all. She'll like that.
I think she might.
You've got a wary side to you, Devon.
That would be a short marriage if I disappear for half the 2 weeks and write a book. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead and scuba, honey. I'll be there in a second.
What else? It's not post-apoc or dystopian. The other one I'm working on. It's again, I don't want to give too much, but it's a psychological thriller based on a very violent and mentally ill prisoner, but he's having flashbacks to something that he wasn't there for. So that's more of a psychological kind of investigative one.
I love those type of books.
That sounds really
absolutely love that kind of stuff.
That's the sort of thing where you get Leonardo DiCaprio playing the lead role in the movie adaptation.
I'm still holding out for
Shutter Island. You look a little bit like Tom Hardy, actually.
Oh yeah, good call.
There you go.
Oh, you need a Bane mask.
Okay, can you just repeat that again? My fiance is watching this.
It definitely looks like
into the
Tom
camera.
Hardy.
And not circa Batman. But let's move swiftly on.
Anyway,
What's wrong with Bane?
That'd be an extraordinary pain.
That's awesome. So
geek out.
yeah, with all the series that you have going on, we usually have an argument here on the show about the Scrivener camp and the Word camp. Do you have a preference on any one of those apps to write with?
And there is a right answer.
There is a correct answer.
there may be a
There's a right answer for Josh and there's a right answer for Scott.
I'm going to upset everyone on that side of the pond and say I can't get on with Scrivener.
It's
Indeed.
okay.
And show.
No, I'm a word man through and through. I wrote a lot on Pages as well, but Word's just, I don't know. Ralph probably knows the same. We kind of grew up with it. That's like the Sinclair Spectrum in our blood. We know what we're dealing with that.
Yeah.
I don't like to move out of my comfort zone either. You know, Word. I don't even like it when they upgrade Word. That's causing me untold amounts of distress. And,
yeah,
I write on almost any platform. I'm looking for WordStar or whatever George R. R. Martin writes in. That's what I want to write in.
I think who was it? A.G. Riddle when we interviewed him.
Oh yeah.
And, so there's that device he has. Sorry to sort of like call back to another interview. It's like a device which only displays one sentence. It's like, looks like a calculator.
It's like
Can you imagine writing a novel with that?
You can just read like 2 lines of text at a time, and then you can eventually print it into some sort of text document that you could probably upload.
What was that called? That was called
Word. Oh, I actually put a link on it on a blog someplace, but
yeah, I can't remember exactly. But I looked at it. I don't actually make them anymore. You have to order the.
Yeah, you can go on Amazon. They're about $35.
Just while we're on the note of how you wrote, you said that at one point you injured your hand quite badly, which is a fundamental tool of the trade, one might say.
Indeed.
Who hasn't broken their hand makes once on this?
But then I cross-reference it with like kind of your productivity, which is, I know you're being sort of quite self-deprecating about, spending a year writing a novel. Actually, it looks like you churn them out quite quickly. How did you overcome that? Did you go to narration or dictation or anything like that?
No, I don't know how to say this without a connotation. I switched to my left hand for a bit.
It's okay. That's pretty common connotation.
Yeah, okay. Just move on from that one.
Put me in my box.
I'm trying to drag this back now. After it was quite badly broken, but after the operation, it was just a bit of soft tissue, and I, to be honest, I think the typing probably helped recovery. Would you stop smirking? I'm trying to be sensitive.
I'm just sitting there going,
focus.
He's just sitting there going, hold on.
I don't know if anyone else can see this, but I'm looking at me, and all I can see is 3 other people doing this.
What's hilarious is I can just picture you sitting there typing. You're like, hold on, the stranger's typing this one out.
Oh, I was supposed to sit on my hand.
You didn't paint your fingernails, did you?
Now I'm embarrassed. This is awesome. Best show ever.
Best interview ever.
Right. Okay. I've forgotten where I was now. What was the question again?
Oh man, that was.
I think we need to move on from that question.
We're talking about dictation. Some people love it. Some people hate it. Some people just get frustrated because the illusion is I will try dragging dictation and I'll write 30,000 words a day, but it doesn't always work that well. I know Josh and I have both tried that out. I had initially with the dictation, I would write tons of words, but then I had to edit it and it was terrible and it took me forever. So I don't know.
I've not tried dictation. To be honest, I can't even get Alexa to understand me half the time.
Okay, so we hit about 13 minutes after the giveaway, and we'll just go ahead and do it now. And I don't even have to pull up the cool random number generator. I don't think Rick wants to win his own book, so Chuck and Drew were the only two that put in there. So you guys win the 2 audiobook codes for this show. There's a couple more we'll put out on subsequent shows after this, but the first 2 go to Drew and Chuck. So send me a PM on Facebook, guys, and I'll get you the codes to you. So congratulations on
Winner.
audiobook codes. One of these days I'm going to make Ralph and Scott do an episode, and then I'm going to be in the live chat as a viewer. So if we do live, we do like a giveaway, and I'm like, ooh, I want to participate in the giveaway and mark my name down that way.
See, that's just.
I think that's the problem is Scott and me are the straight guys, aren't we? We're like the kind of like banging serious questions. So the poor subject, we just get to, why did you do this? How did you do that? Why did you do this?
It's much more chaotic.
It's like there's bad cop going there.
It's exponentially. Right. I had a great comment there, and it was very insightful, and completely lost it.
Images?
Yes, images. Yes, I'm curious. You mentioned you've got a couple other projects going on, and obviously you're getting married here in a few weeks, so that's awesome. What else do you have on the horizon for you? There's a lot of things that indie authors get into that aren't just strictly writing. Do you have anything else on the horizon that's going on with you?
So I've got my Audibles coming out. I've got a book signing, my first book signing on the 12th of August. That's going to be great. I've got a Comic-Con 1st of October in Coventry. Obviously, you can imagine a long way to come from America, but it'll be great.
I would totally come to that if I could swing it. That'd be awesome.
Well, there is going to be the Iron Throne there, so that is going to have to be my profile picture.
Oh yes,
Natch.
Yeah.
But now it's at the moment it's we managed to cram it all in. We've moved house. I've finished the series. We're getting married, going on honeymoon, coming straight back to the Comic-Con. After that, I think I'm probably going to have to take about 4 days of catching my breath. Mm-hmm. And it's onwards and upwards from there. It's definitely the plan is to write at least 3, maybe 4 a year, and just keep going. So I don't feel tied to one genre. I love a post-apocalyptic. I might one day, apart from the short story, there's a lovely little group on Facebook called Good Morning Zompoc. The guy who's running that, he's put together a charity anthology for breast cancer. I've put in a short story, my first zombie story that's gone in there. I might step out to that in the future. I can almost, I can hear her shouting upstairs. She doesn't want me to.
Nice.
Not a zombie fan.
We just got a word from command.
That's right. I like zombie fiction as long as it's done differently. And like Warm Hearts. Warm Bodies. Yeah, I really enjoyed that book.
Yeah,
because it was a really different take on zombies. I thought that was really neat.
You've got to have a different take on anything really, but with zombies, you've got to have something unique. So like J.L. Bourne's zombie books, fantastic, with the irradiated zombies being faster, more capable. You've got to have that twist There's a new book out, Highland Hunger, by a Scottish writer. It's weird. It's kind of like UK Civil War, independence of Scotland, and bioweapons creating zombies, but they're not zombies. They're different types of zombies. It's I don't want to give away someone else's story, but it's definitely worth reading.
Highland Hunger?
Highland Hunger, the second one's just come out. Call to Arms is the first one, and Patriots Rising.
Let's look that up. Put that on my.
Yeah.
Well, since we're talking about other books, what were the books that you were reading that inspired your series? Do you remember?
I don't think I read anything that inspired this series. There was a TV show that really got me thinking. It was a BBC show called Survivors, and they cancelled it after 2 series. I was gutted. It was great. It really got me thinking, and I think that's probably been in the back of my head for years since that first came out.
Yeah.
What do you typically do? You typically read post-apocalyptic, or what's your favorite genre to read in?
To be honest, my book style is about the same as my music styles. If I like it, I'll get it. It's not. I'm not stuck to one genre. I started reading Lord of the Rings, one of the first things I read. I got a lot into Bernard Cornwell. I love the historical documentary fiction. I think it's probably the best way of describing it. And the fact that that man can commit backpacking across Spain and Portugal, following hundreds of years old armies before Google. I should imagine that was a lot harder to do any kind of research. But now I'm into all sorts of stuff. You mentioned earlier the Bourne films, great films, but the Bourne books are even better, and they're not the same story, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't. They're loosely based on the stories, but there's so many differences. But
extremely loosely.
Yeah, love those books. Enjoyed the films. Absolutely loved the books.
Yeah, it kind of goes to everybody's kind of losing their minds on the Dark Tower calamity that's happening right now, where everybody's like, "This isn't the Dark Tower," and I don't remember anybody saying that about the Bourne series when the Bourne series came out, because
look at all the palaver when Daniel Craig became James Bond, and we can't have a blonde James Bond. And that,
oh my God!
Yeah,
which I think he was. I think he was the best James.
I think he's
Next thing we're gonna have a female Doctor Who pretty soon, and just it'll be crazy.
Oh yeah. No, we got a newspaper over here, the Daily Mail, and it's just going nuts about that at the moment.
I think it's
political correctness gone mad, apparently.
Oh no, yeah, but I think that I don't think a movie should be an exact replication of the book. They're different mediums. I think they should be based on each other. But like if you go back and compare the movies that were the most awesome, they don't usually follow it lockstep.
It's interesting because we were talking about audiobooks earlier, weren't we, Devon? And when you start listening to your audiobook, those silent words when you're reading suddenly start to really spring out to you. Bob said, John said, so on and so on. You're like, I wish I'd done my dialogue tags in a different way, and so I know I've started to write them slightly differently now.
Yeah.
With the mindset that they're going to become audio, because having those silent words, said, thought, did, whatever, suddenly becomes really quite intrusive. And it's the same with movies as well. There's some things that work on page which just would never ever work on paper. It was like Game of Thrones. Like, isn't Tyrion by this point in the story like very deformed? But would that necessarily lend itself to?
Wouldn't that be translate?
Well, in Game of Thrones is a great example because they've compacted about 15 different storylines and condensed characters into certain character types because they just could never fit it all in. The series would be like 127 years long to watch the whole thing,
Yeah.
So.
Just to sort of like change the subject very, very dramatically, like a seamless segue. One of the things,
Let's do that.
like seamless segue. One of the things I just wanted to sort of like really note, Devon, was I absolutely, we're coveraholics on this show. I absolutely love the covers.
Oh yeah.
Not just the sort of the individual pictures, but the way they work as a brand together.
Yeah.
It's almost like I could look at a cover, I don't have to see any writing on it, and I would know it's yours. And was that?
Yeah.
Can you just sort of like quickly run us through your cover process?
The first one took ages. The others ran through quite easily because I'd already, in effect, created the brand for the series. And then when you look at them all, again, I'm sorry. When you look at them all together, you look across the bookshelf and you think, yeah, I did that. They do flow really well. The one I'm most proud of is that one. You see that?
Yeah, that's lovely.
That's actually my picture that I took in a lovely seaside town called Collier, right on the right down in France, quite close to Spain. Absolutely epic journey to get there, and just basically hanging around taking photos and ignoring the fact that people are staring at you, wondering what you're doing. I got some fantastic inspiration going down there. So actually, Sanctuary, this fictional place, I actually combined 4 different places I went to in the south of France, all into one fictional bay. So I bastardized everything together to create the place that I wanted. And it was interesting. It was probably, I was 5 books in before I realized I could actually make stuff up as opposed to writing about what I knew.
Right.
So that was a real leap for me that was probably the first time I started world building, which from there has just opened up quite a few doors with writing other stuff.
And sorry, I might have taken sort of, I might be reading between the lines here wrong. Are you saying you came out with those, you created those covers yourself? Are you?
Oh, no, I am nowhere near that good. I've got a fantastic designer who's used by quite a few people that are published in the UK. She's responsible for a lot of tweaks on the rest of them, and that's her sole creation on that one. And all the series banners.
Very dramatic. I like that one. I think that one and your first one are probably my favorite. Yeah,
it's a lot of people love it. I wrote a blog on my website, my first blog, about judging a book by its cover. So the point of the blog is that you should never judge a book by its cover unless it's actually a book. Then you should.
I like that.
From a self-publishing point of view, if you don't care enough to really put time and money into the cover, then what does that say about what the words you put inside?
Holy crap! Somebody write that down.
I already did a while ago. Check my website.
You know what? I think we've got a fourth musketeer here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We got the right mindset going.
Yeah.
I think I love all artistic mediums, especially visual mediums, and I think having a good book cover is your duty to the readers because you want them to know what they're getting. And if you give them something that's just bad or wrong or misleading, so having a really great book cover like these, these are fantastic. Mm-hmm. And you know exactly what you're going into.
Someone told me that, or a few people told me, one person in particular told me that she bought the book, the first book, based purely on 2 things. 1, the cover looked great. 2, there's a German Shepherd on it.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say.
But she said she was hoping it wasn't a Wonder Bra. I asked her what she meant by that. Put it very blunt. She said, well, it looked good. I just wanted there to actually be something inside. But she wasn't disappointed.
That's our new indie term.
Oh, it's a Wonder Bra. Where's my pen? Because
we need to write that one down.
Right.
It's a Wonder Bra.
Well, I think we're coming out with our own vernacular, aren't we? We were talking a little bit before the show about like sort of a bit of a long-term project or longer term project we've got in mind for the indie community. And you know, I think part of it's going to be generating our own lingo, and I think you've nailed one there,
He's
haven't
the
you?
front runner to an award show that is not yet created yet. Front runner.
When we do, we'll do like one of those wikis with quotes, and it's going to be like Devon C Ford, 2017 covers. Shouldn't be like Wonderbra. Looks damn good, but nothing inside.
That'll be the thing that lasts through all posterity.
He can have the stranger write his acceptance speech.
Oh, I'll tell you what, next time I appear, I will have nail varnish on my left hand just for you.
Yeah, that's going to be good.
No, that's done.
That's awesome.
Don't listen around
manicure
as a
episode.
naysayer.
It's the manicure episode.
Okay.
Since we brought this, since Ralph brought,
oh, sorry, Scott.
I say since Ralph brought that up, we were talking. What we were talking about was our award show that we've done. We're not going to go into a lot of detail right here, but we've been working on that and polling some of our fan base and looking for categories if we're going to do an award show. And one of our categories was book covers, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's kind of one of the things we're talking about. So I don't know if we can use the Wonder Bra category or not, but
we do need to figure out how to fit Wonder Bra into the awards. I think we do.
Well, just do a show just on that.
Kind of like
kind of Wonder Bra review session.
Yes. And that goes in the same category as this. Let's not call the award the Stroker Award.
Well, I've asked if there's any last questions on the feed, and we seem to have a stream of Wonder Bra related ones.
Yes.
Yeah, I lost that feed, so I'm left out.
We are coming to the
interesting thought.
Sorry. Probably one last good one. Do you do any research on weapons which your characters use?
A massive amount of research goes into it. Yes. I also have one in this country I meet in person. I've got a couple of guys in the States with distinguished amounts of experience. But yes, I'm not a big gunman myself, especially. We are going to take a trip to Poland soon and go on a range. And I asked my fiancée if she wanted to go, and she said yes, absolutely. I said why? She said I just want to fire an Uzi sideways. I'm not sure they're going to let her do that, but yeah.
Who does really?
It's Poland. I'm sure that the health and safety laws.
This isn't in the street.
A little different.
There's a legitimate reason to shoot sideways. If you feel like you have a bunker, you got to reach your gun around the front. So.
And you've got to throw the bullets. You've got to.
Yeah, I think she wanted to do it from a moving car for some reason.
I've been trying to.
Pretty sure they call those drive-bys, and they're not allowed.
Yeah,
I've been trying to persuade these guys to watch the film Hot Fuzz.
Many times.
So if you can support that request with these two reprobates, then that'll be much appreciated.
Have you ever fired a gun? Have you ever fired a gun from a moving car?
Have you ever fired it while diving? One in each hand.
I do have to say that Haley Charrington says you will not be taking your laptop on your honeymoon, mister. Just FYI.
It'll be all right here. Right in the book.
Yeah,
awesome.
ask her if it's okay to write on an iPad at the time. Or
Oh yes, iPad is a completely different thing than a laptop because you can read. You can read books
hold
on
on. You don't want to have her close off that loophole in the law too early. So
Ask
that question.
Better to beg for
I just showed
forgiveness.
my hand, haven't I?
Forget about that question. It never happened. We'll edit this part out of the show so you can't ever call it for evidence.
Yeah, apart from the fact that she's probably watching it live.
So, Devon, this has been a fantastic show, one of the funnest we've had in a long time. Can you tell our audience where they can find more information about you and where they can pick your books up at?
Yeah, Facebook, Devon C Ford. I'm on Twitter, but I'm not very good at Twitter, so bear with me if you do anything on there. I've got my website, www.devonCford.com. Have a look on there for some background information, some blogs, my take on the world. In person, if you're in the UK, 12th of August, get yourself to Walsall. go to Southcart Books, where you can meet me, get some signed copies. 1st of October, Coventry Comic Con in Coventry Way. It's actually at Brighton. Get yourself up there. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be a full-on. Yes, I know, Raf, I know. Private joke, everyone. Private joke.
I'll tell you later.
Yeah, not that part of writing. Yeah, private joke.
Oh.
Yeah, the Comic Con's going to be amazing. There'll be the Iron Throne will be there. There'll be loads of people. Sirio Florell will be there for giving some water dancing lessons.
Very nice.
Krauts will be there, so Darth Vader's there. Loads of people. It's going to be a fantastic day, and obviously I'll be there as well, which has been headlined as the main event.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's not really. Yeah.
It could be a headliner.
No, we're going to say
you're headlining for Darth Vader. You know, that's,
you headlined the Keystroke Medium show, and that will get you in anywhere, guaranteed.
Yeah, I'll just turn around to Dave Prowse and go, I've got to sign something, hold my beer. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely not that way around.
Right to the front of the line. Well, everybody
faith in me is disturbing.
Everybody that come and hang out with us during the live show, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We really appreciate your support and love hanging out with you guys every week. If you are not hanging out in the live chat, you are wrong. Just going to say it right there. You come hang out with us.
Could have won some bucks.
That's right.
Missed
That's
opportunity.
Right. And we do have a lot of audio codes coming up in the next few months, so you guys don't want to miss out. Devon, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a blast. Okay, well, let us know what you thought about the show. Let us know on YouTube or on our website. Check it out at keystroke.medium.com, and you can search Keystroke Medium on YouTube, and you will find us. We're the only one there. Ha-ha! So do that. For Scott Moon and Ralph Kern, I am Josh Hayes. We have been live with Devon C Ford. Make sure you come back and hang out with us next week as we talk about reading, writing, and everything in between right here on Keystroke Medium. You guys have a good Monday.